Sister's fiancé dumped her after she tried to steal my home for their dream wedding. Hey friends! Got a sec? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe. It's quick for you, but it really means a lot to us. Alright, let's dive into today's story. Original post. I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am at 2 a.m., unable to sleep and needing to get this off my chest. I'm Chris, 31M, and my younger sister Hannah, 27F, just dropped a bomb on our entire family that has me questioning everything I thought I knew about her. For context, I've worked my ass off for the past 8 years in tech. After college, I lived in cramped studios, saved every penny, and finally, 2 years ago, I managed to buy a beautiful 2-bedroom condo in downtown Seattle. It's nothing extravagant, but it's mine. Exposed brick walls, large windows overlooking the sound, and a small balcony where I grow herbs. This place represents everything I've worked for. Hannah, on the other hand, has always been the free spirit of the family. She's bounced between jobs, traveled extensively on our parents' dime, and currently works part-time at a yoga studio while living in a 1-bedroom rental in a less desirable part of town. Don't get me wrong, I love my sister and have never judged her choices. We've always had each other's backs. 6 months ago, Hannah got engaged to Marcus, who she's been dating for about a year. Marcus seems like a decent guy, works in marketing, treats her well, the whole 9 yards. Our parents, Michael and Sarah, were thrilled. Mom immediately went into full wedding planning mode, and Dad started talking about walking his little girl down the aisle. I was genuinely happy for Hannah. Then came last Sunday's family dinner. We were all gathered at our parents' house, a tradition we've maintained since we were kids. Hannah and Marcus were there, and everything seemed normal until dessert. That's when Hannah cleared her throat and said she had something important to discuss with the family. Chris, she began, turning to me with this sweet smile that immediately put me on edge. You know how much Marcus and I appreciate everything you've done for us. I hadn't really done anything specific for them, so I just nodded, confused. Well, we've been thinking about the wedding and our future together, she continued. And we realized that it doesn't make sense for a single guy like you to be rattling around in that big apartment while Marcus and I are cramped in my tiny place. The room went silent. I could feel my jaw dropping. What are you saying, Hannah? I asked, though I had a sinking feeling I already knew. We think it would be best if we switched apartments, she announced cheerfully, as if she'd just suggested we share a pizza. Just until after the wedding and we get settled. Marcus deserves to start our marriage in a nice place, and you're hardly ever home anyway with your work schedule. I looked around the table. Marcus was studying his pie intently. Mom had this hopeful expression on her face. Dad was frowning slightly but saying nothing. You want me to give you my apartment? I said slowly, making sure I understood correctly. Not give, silly. Trade. You can stay in my place. It's cozy and perfect for a bachelor. Plus, it's closer to that coffee shop you like. Hannah, I bought my condo. I own it. I have a mortgage. Your place is a rental. She waved her hand dismissively. We can work out the details. Maybe you could keep paying the mortgage while we live there, and we'll cover my rent. It's much cheaper, so really, we'd be doing you a favor by taking care of the place. I laughed. I actually laughed because I thought she had to be joking. But her face fell, and I realized she was completely serious. Absolutely not, I said firmly. That's my home, Hannah. I worked for years to afford it. But I'm getting married, she protested, her voice rising. Don't you want your sister to be happy? Marcus grew up in a nice house, and his family already thinks I'm not good enough for him. This would show them that our family has class too. Then Marcus's family can buy you a nice place if it's that important to them, I shot back. That's when Mom intervened. Christopher, don't you think you're being a bit selfish? Your sister is only getting married once, and family helps family. Helping would be contributing to the wedding or helping them move. Not giving up my home. Dad finally spoke up. Nobody's asking you to give up anything permanently, son. Maybe you could consider it as a temporary arrangement. For how long? I demanded. 6 months. A year. Until they save enough for their own place? Which, let's be honest, Hannah has never been great at saving money. Hannah burst into tears at that, and Marcus finally looked up. Hey man, I didn't know she was going to ask this. But since she did, it would mean a lot to us. I promise we'd take good care of the place. The place doesn't need taking care of by anyone but me, I said, standing up. This is insane. I'm leaving. Mom called after me, but I grabbed my jacket and left. Hannah texted me about an hour later, I can't believe you're being so stubborn about this. I thought you loved me. I responded, I do love you. That doesn't mean I have to give you my apartment. She wrote back, it's just property, Chris. Family is more important than things. I didn't reply. Since then, I've been getting texts from various family members. My Aunt Patricia called to say I should be the bigger person. My cousin Jennifer suggested that successful people should help those still finding their way. Even my grandmother, who I thought would be on my side, said, you know, dear, when I was young, families shared everything. The thing is, I would help Hannah in a heartbeat if she were in actual trouble. If she needed a place to crash temporarily, my door would be open. If she needed money for an emergency, I'd write the check. But this feels like something else entirely. She's not in crisis. She just wants what I have because she thinks she deserves it more. Am I the asshole here? Am I really being selfish by not wanting to trade my carefully chosen, hard-earned home for my sister's rental because she's getting married? The family pressure is getting to me, and I'm starting to second-guess myself, even though every logical part of my brain is screaming that this request is absolutely unreasonable. Update 1. My best friend Tyler stepped in. It's been a week since my original post, and things have escalated in ways I never expected. First, thank you to everyone who responded. Your comments helped me realize I wasn't going crazy and that my family's request was as outrageous as I thought. The day after I posted, I met up with my best friend Tyler for our regular Tuesday basketball game. Tyler and I have been friends since high school, and he's now a real estate lawyer, which became very relevant to this situation. I hadn't planned to tell him about the apartment drama, but he could tell something was off. Dude, you're playing like shit today, he said after I missed my 5th easy shot. What's going on? So I told him everything. As I explained the situation, I watched his expression go from confused to incredulous to genuinely angry. Wait, he said, holding up his hand. They want you to keep paying the mortgage while your sister lives in your condo rent-free, and in exchange, you get to pay her rent on a shitty apartment? Well, they said they'd cover the rent, which is probably a third of your mortgage payment. Yeah, about that. Tyler sat down on the bench, shaking his head. Chris, you realize this is insane, right? Like, legally and ethically bonkers. I mean, I thought so, but my whole family. Your whole family is wrong, he interrupted. Look, I deal with property disputes all the time. What they're asking isn't just unfair, it could seriously mess up your financial future. What happens if they damage the place? What if they refuse to leave? What if you need to sell? You'd be looking at a formal eviction process of your own sister. I hadn't even thought about those possibilities. Tyler continued, and here's something else, if you're not living in your primary residence, it could affect your homeowner's insurance and potentially your mortgage terms. Some mortgages have occupancy requirements. Shit, really? Really? Can I come to your next family dinner? I looked at him, surprised. Why would you want to walk into that mess? Because someone needs to explain to your family why this isn't happening, and they might listen better to a lawyer than to you. Plus, he grinned, I've always wanted to see Hannah's face when someone tells her no and makes it stick. Tyler had never been a huge fan of Hannah, though he'd always been polite. He thought she was spoiled, and current events weren't changing his opinion. The next Sunday, I brought Tyler to family dinner. Hannah nearly choked on her water when she saw him. Oh, Chris brought his friend, Mom said, though her smile was strained. She knew Tyler well enough to know he wasn't there for the pot roast. We made it through most of dinner with small talk before Hannah brought up the elephant in the room. So, Chris, have you thought more about what we discussed? She asked, her tone suggesting she expected me to have come around. I have, I said calmly. The answer is still no. Chris, Dad started, but Tyler interrupted. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, I hope you don't mind, but as Chris's friend and a real estate attorney, I feel obligated to point out some serious concerns with what's being proposed here. Mom looked taken aback. This is a family matter, Tyler. With significant legal and financial implications, Tyler responded smoothly. Are you aware that what you're asking Chris to do could violate the terms of his mortgage? That insurance fraud charges could apply if he claims to live somewhere he doesn't? That if Hannah and Marcus were to establish tenancy, Chris might have to formally evict them if they refuse to leave. The table went quiet. Tyler continued, furthermore, the financial arrangement being proposed, where Chris continues to pay his mortgage while receiving a rental payment that's significantly less, would result in a substantial monthly loss. Over a year, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. Is the family prepared to reimburse Chris for these losses? It's not about money, Hannah protested. It's about family. If it's not about money, Tyler said evenly, Then why isn't Hannah offering to pay Chris's full mortgage payment plus her current rent, since he'd be taking on the additional expense? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. We couldn't afford that. Exactly, Tyler said. So it is about money. You want Chris to subsidize your lifestyle at significant personal cost. Dad's face had gone red. Now see here, young man. Mr. Thompson, Tyler cut in respectfully but firmly, I've known your family for 15 years. I care about Chris, and I care about all of you. That's why I'm telling you this is a terrible idea that could have lasting legal and financial consequences for your son. If you pressure him into this and something goes wrong, it won't just be his financial future at stake, it could destroy your family relationships permanently. Mom turned to me. Christopher, is this what you think? That we're trying to destroy your future? I think you're not considering what you're asking me to sacrifice, I said carefully. And I think Hannah's acting incredibly entitled to something she hasn't earned. Hannah stood up abruptly, tears in her eyes. I can't believe you brought a lawyer to dinner to attack me. I brought a friend to explain why your request is unreasonable, I corrected. She grabbed Marcus's hand. We're leaving. And don't expect an invitation to the wedding. After they left, my parents and I sat in uncomfortable silence. Finally, Tyler stood up. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, I'll say one more thing. Chris is being more than reasonable. If Hannah and Marcus need help, there are many ways he could assist that don't involve giving up his home. The fact that they're unwilling to consider alternatives suggests this isn't really about need, it's about want. And wants don't justify taking advantage of family. We left shortly after that. In the car, Tyler turned to me. You okay? I don't know, I admitted. I might have just blown up my relationship with my sister. No, Tyler said firmly. She did that when she decided her wedding was more important than your home. Update 2. The aftermath begins. 2 weeks have passed since the dinner with Tyler, and the family dynamic has completely shifted. Hannah hasn't spoken to me directly, but she's been very vocal on social media, posting passive-aggressive quotes about family who doesn't support your dreams, and finding out who really loves you when you're getting married. Marcus, surprisingly, reached out to me privately. We met for coffee, and he looked exhausted. Man, I had no idea she was going to ask for your apartment, he said immediately. When she first mentioned it to me, I thought she was joking. Then I realized she was serious, and I didn't know how to tell her it was crazy. So you just went along with it. He rubbed his face. Have you ever tried to tell Hannah she can't have something she's decided she deserves? It's intense. But after your friend laid out all the legal stuff, I realized how messed up this whole thing was. I've been trying to talk to her about it, but she just keeps saying your family doesn't understand true love. How's that working out for you? I asked, perhaps a bit sarcastically. Honestly, it's making me question a lot of things, he admitted. I love Hannah, but this whole situation has shown me a side of her I didn't know existed. The entitlement, the manipulation, the way she's turned your parents against you. It's not okay. I felt bad for the guy. What are you going to do? I don't know. The wedding planning has become this massive production, and every vendor she wants is the most expensive option. When I suggest alternatives, she accuses me of not wanting her to have her dream wedding. Your parents are enabling it, saying they'll help pay, but I know they can't afford what she's planning. Have you talked to her about scaling back? Marcus laughed bitterly. I tried. She told me that if I really loved her, I'd find a way to make it happen. That's when she brought up your apartment again, said if we lived there, we could save money for a bigger wedding. The manipulation was worse than I'd thought. Meanwhile, my parents had been trying to play peacemaker, but their version of that meant pressuring me to reconsider. Dad called me at work, which he never does. Son, your mother is beside herself. Can't you find some sort of compromise? What compromise, Dad? I keep my apartment but let them live there sometimes? That makes no sense. Maybe you could help them with a down payment for their own place? With what money? Everything I have is tied up in my mortgage and retirement savings. Besides, why should I give them money for a house when Hannah has never shown any financial responsibility? She's growing up, Chris. Marriage changes people. Does it? Because from where I'm sitting, she's acting like a spoiled child who's mad she can't have her brother's toy. Dad sighed heavily. Your mother thinks you're being stubborn out of spite. I'm being stubborn because I'm right, Dad. And deep down, you know it. He didn't respond to that, which told me everything. Update 3. Everything falls apart. It's been a month since Tyler's intervention at family dinner, and the situation has completely imploded in ways none of us saw coming. It started when Hannah decided to escalate things by involving Marcus's family. Apparently, she told them that I had promised to let them use my apartment for the wedding and honeymoon period, but was now backing out because I was jealous of their happiness. Marcus's mother, Linda, who already had reservations about Hannah, called Marcus to ask what was really going on. Marcus told her the truth. According to Marcus, who called me right after, his mother's response was, "So your fiancé expects her brother to give up his home so you two can play house in it? And she's throwing a tantrum because he said no? Marcus, what are you doing with this girl?" That led to a massive fight between Marcus and Hannah, which I heard about from 3 different sources. Hannah accused Marcus of betraying her to his family. Marcus accused Hannah of lying and manipulation. It got ugly. But the real drama came the following weekend. Hannah had organized a wedding planning party at our parents' house, basically an excuse to look at venues and dresses with her bridesmaids while drinking champagne. Marcus was supposed to be there but called in sick. Hannah was furious and spent the entire party complaining about how unsupportive everyone was being. After a few glasses of champagne, one of her bridesmaids, Ashley, finally spoke up. "Hannah, I love you, but you need to hear this. What you asked Chris to do is absolutely insane. You can't expect him to give you his apartment just because you're getting married." Hannah turned on her. "I thought you were my friend." "I am your friend, which is why I'm telling you this. You're being a bridezilla, and you're going to lose your brother and maybe your fiancé if you don't stop." The room went silent. Then Hannah exploded. She screamed at Ashley to leave, threw a wedding magazine across the room, and declared that nobody understood what she was going through. Our mom tried to calm her down, but Hannah turned on her too. "This is your fault. You and Dad should have made Chris share. You always let him be selfish." "Hannah," Mom said quietly, "Chris isn't being selfish. We were wrong to pressure him." It was the first time either parent had admitted this, and Hannah lost it completely. She stormed out, drove to Marcus's apartment, and demanded he choose her or his family's poisonous influence. Marcus chose his family. He broke up with her that night. He called me the next morning to tell me, and he sounded relieved. "I couldn't do it anymore, man," he said. The apartment thing was just the tip of the iceberg. She expected everyone to cater to her every whim because she was the bride. The wedding had become more important than the marriage. When she made me choose between her and my family over this, I realized what my life would be like if I married her. Hannah, predictably, didn't take it well. She showed up at my apartment at midnight, pounding on the door and screaming that I had ruined her life. I called through the door, "Hannah, you need to leave or I'm calling the police. You destroyed my wedding. Marcus left me because of you." "Marcus left you because of you, Hannah. Your entitlement and manipulation drove him away." "I'm your sister. You're supposed to support me. Support doesn't mean giving you everything you want at my expense." She kept pounding on the door, and my neighbors started coming out. Finally, Tyler, who lives 2 buildings over, showed up. He'd seen Hannah's car and figured there might be trouble. "Hannah," he said firmly, "you need to leave now. You're creating a disturbance, and Chris is within his rights to call the police." "Of course you're here," she spat. "This is all your fault with your legal bullshit." "No, it's your fault for thinking you're entitled to your brother's home. Leave now, or I'll call the police myself and ensure you're charged with harassment." She finally left, but not before screaming that she never wanted to see me again. Update 4. The reconciliation. 2 months have passed since the breakup and Hannah's midnight meltdown at my apartment. The family has been fractured, with holiday plans cancelled and our traditional Sunday dinners suspended. I haven't spoken to Hannah since that night, and our parents have been caught in the middle, trying to maintain relationships with both of us. Then, last week, Mom called me with surprising news. "Hannah's been seeing a therapist," she said carefully. "And she wants to talk to you." "I don't know if that's a good idea, Mom." "Christopher, she's your sister. She's been doing a lot of work on herself. The therapist has helped her understand things. Please, just consider it." I was skeptical, but I agreed to meet Hannah in a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown where we used to hang out in college. When I arrived, I barely recognized her. She looked tired, thinner, and somehow younger. The confident, entitled persona was gone, replaced by something more vulnerable. "Hi, Chris," she said quietly. "Thanks for coming." I sat down cautiously. "Mom said you wanted to talk." She nodded, wrapping her hands around her coffee cup. "I owe you an apology. A real one, not the kind where I say sorry but blame everyone else." I waited. I've been talking to my therapist about everything that happened, and, God, Chris, I was such an asshole. Her voice cracked. I convinced myself that I deserved your apartment because I was getting married, like that somehow made me more important than you. I turned our whole family against you, I lied to Marcus's family, and I tried to manipulate everyone into giving me what I wanted. Why? I asked simply. She took a shaky breath. The therapist helped me realize that I've always felt like the family failure. You went to college, got a great job, bought your own place. You had your life together by 25. I'm 27 and still figuring things out. When Marcus proposed, I thought finally, I was doing something right. I was getting married, that's success, right? That's being an adult. Hannah. But then I'd look at where we were living, and where you were living, and I felt like a failure again. Instead of working harder or making better choices, I convinced myself that I deserved what you had because I was taking this big step. The therapist called it entitlement as a defense mechanism against feelings of inadequacy. That's actually pretty insightful. Yeah, well, it only took losing my fiancé, alienating my brother, and disappointing my entire family to get there. She laughed bitterly. Marcus was right to leave. I wasn't ready to get married. I was just playing bride, you know? The wedding became the symbol of success, and I lost sight of what marriage actually means. Where are you living now? I asked. Back with Mom and Dad, she admitted. But I'm saving money. Real saving, with a budget and everything. I want to get my own place, earn it properly this time. That's good, Hannah. Really. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Chris, I don't expect you to forgive me right away. What I did was horrible. I tried to take away something you worked so hard for, and when you rightfully said no, I tried to turn everyone against you. That's not what family does. No, I agreed. It's not. But I'm hoping maybe we can work toward fixing this. I know it'll take time, but you're my brother, and I miss you. I miss us, before I became this crazy person who thought the world owed me everything. I considered her words. This was the most accountability I'd ever heard from Hannah. I'm willing to try, I said finally. But it's going to take time, and there need to be boundaries. Whatever you need, she said quickly. The therapist said I should focus on actions, not words. Show you I've changed rather than just saying it. Over the next hour, we talked more honestly than we had in years. Hannah told me about her therapy sessions, how she was working on her entitlement issues and her tendency to manipulate situations to avoid disappointment. She'd also gotten a full-time job at a marketing firm. Marcus had actually recommended her before they broke up, one final act of kindness. I wrote Marcus a letter, she said, apologizing for everything. I don't expect him to take me back, that ship has sailed, and honestly, we weren't right for each other. But he deserved an apology. Did he respond? He sent a short email saying he appreciated it and wished me well, which was more than I deserved. As we prepared to leave, Hannah said one more thing. Tyler was right, you know, about everything. I hated him for it at the time, but he might have saved me from making even worse decisions. Tell him thanks from me. Tell him yourself, I suggested. He'd probably appreciate hearing it. Final update. 6 months later. I wanted to give one last update, as it's been 6 months since Hannah and I had our reconciliation coffee. Things aren't perfect, but they're better. Hannah has continued therapy and has made remarkable progress. She kept her marketing job and even got a small raise. She's still living with our parents but has been saving diligently and is looking at apartments she can actually afford. The family dynamics have slowly healed. We resumed Sunday dinners about 3 months ago. The first one was awkward, but we pushed through. Mom and Dad apologized to me for taking sides and pressuring me about the apartment. They admitted they got caught up in wedding fever and Hannah's manipulation, and they should have been more objective. We were so excited about Hannah finally settling down, Mom admitted. We didn't stop to think about what we were actually asking of you. Hannah has also made efforts to repair other relationships. She apologized to Ashley and her other bridesmaids for her behavior. Some friendships were salvageable, others weren't, but she's accepting the consequences of her actions. The biggest surprise came last month. Tyler got a call from Hannah asking if she could buy him coffee to apologize properly. He agreed, and according to him, it went well. She actually gets it now, he told me afterward. She understands that what she did wasn't just wrong, it was potentially illegal and could have screwed you over for years. She seemed genuinely horrified when she fully grasped the implications. And you believe she's changed? I believe she's changing, he corrected. It's a process. But yeah, she's doing the work. As for Marcus, he's dating someone new, a woman from his gym who apparently has her life very much together. Hannah found out through social media and handled it well, from what I hear. She told me she was happy for him and hoped he'd found someone who was ready for marriage in a way she hadn't been. Last week, Hannah sent me a listing for a one-bedroom apartment she's considering. It's small but nice, in a decent neighborhood, and within her budget. "What do you think?" she asked. "I wanted your opinion because, well, you actually know about this stuff." I looked it over. It's a good starter place. The neighborhood's safe, and it's close to your work. You should go for it. Thanks. And Chris, I want you to know, I look at your apartment now, and I don't feel jealous. I feel proud of you. You earned that place, and I had no right to try to take it from you. I appreciate that, Hannah. Also, she added with a small smile, I'm pretty sure your apartment would have been way too much work to maintain. I can barely keep my room at Mom and Dad's clean. We laughed, and for the first time in months, it felt like we were actually siblings again, not adversaries. The experience taught our family some hard lessons. Hannah learned about entitlement and accountability. Our parents learned about playing favorites and enabling bad behavior. And I learned that sometimes standing your ground, even when everyone's against you, is the only way to maintain your self-respect and protect what you've worked for. Tyler summed it up best during a recent game. You know what the real victory is? It's not that you kept your apartment. It's that your family actually learned and grew from this instead of just burying it and pretending it never happened. He's right. The apartment was never really the issue. It was a symptom of bigger problems in our family dynamic. Problems we're now actually addressing instead of ignoring. Hannah moves into her new apartment next month. I've offered to help her move, and she's accepted. It's a small step, but it's progress. She's earning her independence the right way this time, and I'm genuinely proud of her for that. As for my apartment, it remains my sanctuary, my achievement, and my home. But now it's also a reminder that boundaries, even with family, especially with family, are essential. And sometimes, saying no is the most loving thing you can do, even if it takes everyone a while to understand that. The wedding that started all this drama never happened, but in a weird way, our family might be stronger for it. We've learned to see each other more clearly, to respect each other's boundaries, and to understand that love doesn't mean giving someone everything they want. Sometimes it means helping them grow into better versions of themselves, even when that process is painful. Hannah still hopes to get married someday, but she says when she does, it'll be about the marriage, not the wedding. And when that day comes, she'll be living in a place she earned herself, standing on her own 2 feet. That's real success, and it's worth more than any apartment could ever be.